we understand how Ghana has gone through the digital infrastructure roadmap. And so we are going to give highlights of the digital infrastructure. The first mile, which normally consists of the international internet pipes linking the country, the middle mile, which are the fibers that we have, the last mile, which are those which links our communities and homes, and then the invisible mile, which, in other words, the regulations and the policies guiding the infrastructure setup. And so this is the illustrative aspect of it. For the first mile, the middle mile, the big pipes, they come, and then the last mile falls into smaller area. So, and then, so in the digital infrastructure in Ghana shows that Ghana is blessed with about 7 or so first mile service providers. One, Glo, they're all landing on our shores in Accra. Together, additionally, we have the middle mile. The middle mile, which is the national fiber optic backbone. You see the legend here, all the area is linked. This is also part of the private sector, the service sector infrastructure. Hitherto, it was difficult for us to get access to Vodafone, MTN, for them to give us the infrastructure, but it became possible. And now the color correlation also shows where they are operating. And indeed, the government also operating part of the infrastructure services. And then we also had the Eastern Corridor, fiber optic, which passes through over 800 communities from the Ho up to Boku, going through to Tamale. So this is also the part of the backbone. And when we come to the middle levels supply, we have the LTE stations dotted around all the country. And that is also what you see there. And then we have the metro fiber, including what I'm sure we are tapping or we are hitting on from here, also serving. And then also the primary and the secondary data, which has been built to enable data storage. And as I said, we have what we call the invisible mile. These are all the most or part of the legislation and policies that have been formulated. They look a bit blurry anyway. Since 1997, as I mentioned, through to the 2020 Cyber Security Act, which was promulgated. So one of the questions we asked was putting the users of services, products at the heart of service delivery. There is a direct relationship between infrastructure and broadband access and utilization. Indeed, assessments by the NCA shows that the population of about 32 million, mobile telephony penetration about 136%. Mobile data subscription, quarter 3, was 75.62, with only 54.1 having mobile phones. One would have thought that all would be rosy, for access to the services we deliver to be made available. Indeed, NCA again covered these 16 regions, and it also showed that individuals owning mobile phones out of the population we have is 54.1%. So we ask ourselves, are we able to market what we deliver, the services we deliver online? And so the research shows that this is a time to ensure meaningful connectivity. And what is it? In an A4AI research that was carried in 9 countries, including Ghana. It's a framework and policy target to increase internet access within the country. When a user has a smartphone and 4G-like mobile internet, along with unlimited broadband, access point, connection at home, work, or place of study, its attainment is to bridge the new dimension of digital divide. And I must say that this idea has been mooted to the Ministry of Communication, which and has been accepted for Ghana to move on. Because when Ghana was a bit complacent that we had achieved 1:2, that for the minimal person, somebody can live on the average wage and access the internet. We noticed that no, it is not so, because on the internet too, some of us have got doomso. You only plug it when you want to check your data because of the cost. So there's a need for us to move towards meaningful connectivity. These are the dimensions. Getting the right speed, having appropriate device, connecting to enough data, and then using the internet daily. So, regular internet, enough data, fast connection, 24 hours of usage. The statistics show also that if we use that dimension, then only 70% of us in Ghana, out of a 2 million population that was studied, at 4G speed, like unlimited access 70%, estimated to own smartphone 40%, estimated to have daily internet use 38%. So there's a huge gap that shows that we haven't reached the meaningful connectivity level or threshold that we are looking for. This is also another illustration of it. And here, even giving the distinction between men and women, and then urban and rural, indicating the gaps to be closed if we have to deliver services without the vision to reach all and sundry. And this slide shows the illusion in connectivity. You can see that Ghana was among the 9 countries here. The orange dot is showing the meaningful connectivity, even though mobile phone levels are up to this place. So you can have the mobile phone, you will only be an observer, but you will not be an active participant in the data that will be shared. So the gaps and opportunities, these were all picked from the study and the questionnaire that we administered to the civil service and other stakeholders. There are many, and we'll handle them. So the main thing was that there was the need for broadband policy continuing. Ghana's broadband policy has seen no revision since 2013. Targets have not been reviewed, culminating in drawbacks. Throughput and bandwidth requirement for MDAs are known. This is very important because as we were going around, I visited some of the ministries myself, and they were even trying to download our forms. What we did by Google on forms online. They said, no, we cannot download now. It means that we don't even know the speed that we have to have in the pipes serving the ministries and the MDAs, said that there will be seamless work at any point in time. These were some of the observations made. Though first mile broadband, as I showed, those international pipes, they provide over 340 gigabytes in available capacity. The impact has not been felt in the middle mile and the last mile to make broadband affordable and accessible everywhere. Broadband penetration is thus low, particularly in the rural areas, making access to internet not affordable. So the broadband policy is a very key thing, because even the Eastern Corridor that I showed, it passes through over 180 communities. yet is underutilized. And handicaps in fiber management. These fiber systems are there. How effective are we managing these resources so that, they will reach the communities where we want to have interface with? And so unbundling infrastructure redundancy was one of the issues which was very key and identified. Infrastructure sharing policy and regulation development a must. Here again, the A4I carried a research, and we noticed that the infrastructure that we have, both in the MDAs and in the private sector and in the government sector as a whole, there are redundancies, and they need to be unbundled. But if the regulation, the policy is not there. At times, the commercial people will say, oh, this is commercial issue. But there is a need for this policy to attract the attention of both the ministry and the NCA. Leveraging data to advance development of value-added service is very key. Remember, we said connectivity and data impact very much on our work as civil servant as we want to deal with the citizenry. This is important to enable the leveraging on data to enhance constant research and development for products and services innovation to occur to enhance service delivery. Leveraging on data for innovation within the civil service will provide the needed support to service the business, private sector, subsector, and also the citizenry as a whole. And so here I'm introducing the word value-added service. It's very key. When we say there is money in ICT, that is where the money is hidden. When we say that we have to build our capacity in innovation, that is what we are talking about. So as we speak about value-added service, whichever sector you are, you need to start thinking, what are we doing? And what can we do through innovation, through some product development, through some service application to serve the citizenry better? It's very important, and that is where we need to double our act as civil servants to move into the value-added service regime. And this is the topology of all that. You could see that the people sector here, the citizenry, the business sector here, the government subsector where we are located. With the infrastructure backbone that we have, we need now to have the vast growth part. On the vast growth part, we will then have the development of our solutions, our products, and our development. This will require a whole orientation for us to reshape our product delivery if we are looking at an agenda that should take us into the future. VAS as a key in transformational GDP impact realization. A look into the transformation of the work of the civil service should call for the use of VAS as key in transformational GDP impact realization. And so this is an emphasis on what I said. This is where the civil service converge with the private sector, and I'm happy the private sector person will be also giving a presentation. People normally ask, oh, is the civil service operating alone? Well, it appears that the civil service digitalization is not getting the private sector a component. The convergence is the civil service harmonizing their vast development with the private sector. We may not have the capacity inside there, but then there is a private sector entity which may understand your business. Yes, recently, the company that I work with had to go to GRA to go and demonstrate how we can introduce a product to the GRA to be facilitated on their platform. That is where the synergy, and that is how robust the civil service is. How So we have to build that relationship with the private sector, even where we don't have the internal capacity to develop a vast ecosystem to proceed. Yeah. And all this will happen if we have the National Information Technology Agency providing the platform for us to ride on. And so the creation of their platform will be important, because the opportunity is also open for the civil service under the AFTA to take part in the global shopping. This is also another area that the service has to orient itself. Yes, we have created AFTA. We are providing services here. Do we restrict our services here, or there are services that we can also send out? The tourism ministry, how do we link our services to get a share of the AFTA economy? So it's also very important, and here NITA would have to play a major role. And I must indicate that so happily the now Minister for Communication Digitalization has identified this gap, and the regulations for NITA, which had been long outstanding, are now in preparation, which I'm privy to. So this is the platform that NITA will have to design, so that it will involve both the vast creation of the ministries, the vast creation of the MDAs, and in collaboration with the private sector, counting on interoperability of all the networks. Because we have the networks, as we have shown. It is only a matter of coordination that will take us to the bus industry, which is actually the engine of growth now. And so filling the gap, also to create the open data mandatory ecosystem, is very key. As I said, the work of the civil service, if we are leaving the analog, the digitization, digitalization to data transformation, then it's all based on data. So how ready are we? And here, I think GRAD comes to play. Yes, it's one of the important organs of the service, which must ensure that it has digitized all the records and even have record disaster backup and disaster recovery mechanism in place. This will enable us also as civil service to migrate on what we call blockchain. Blockchain, or the distributed ledger technology, so that information can be stored systematically and its retrieval will be very easy. It's another area that the civil service will have to take a look at, so that we move into the chain technology. And here again, we have an interface with the private sector, because they will require information from us in product development, in collaboration, and when we have our information well documented like this, it becomes easy for partnership to be established. And so, moving forward, looking at all that we have, the communication infrastructure, the data, when we are talking about building permit acquisition, then we are not looking at one entity working. So that's the agenda that we are setting. We are looking at land administration use. We are looking at provision of utility services, postal services, now that we have the digital addresses, a property rate. We are looking at waste collection. Yes, I serve on a board on one waste collection entity. So that, even as you are registering your building permit, your registration for the waste permit, waste collection rate is also linked. This is how we need to let the civil service gel, and we'll move on. And I indicated from the introduction that there could be an agency under a ministry. I've used the case of Ghana Post, because Ghana Post is under the SIGA. They will sign their performance bond, but it will be witnessed by the ministry, and the ministry will, at the end of the year, have to account for their progress in Parliament. And so I gave an example of it, that this is the time that Ghana Post, for instance, with the COVID experience, has to improve upon its digitalization processes to become an e-commerce leadership in Ghana. Indeed, they have the facility to even go to the last mile. And I think we are all witness that when we couldn't go to the stores to buy, you'll be in your comfort of your home and you order, and Amazon will just come and deliver. Ghana Post, even if it's coming from Amazon elsewhere, should be the last mile carrier. And all this, have they set themselves ready? This is the time that they have to do it. And as part of the civil service digitalization, I think the ministries are bodies so that the ministries will also look at their agencies and see how they can impact on their operationalization. Harmonizing NITA through regulation to harmonize all aspects of technology diffusion. Indeed, one key input that we got through the questionnaire administration was the fact that NITA, created since 2008, has not been active for its presence to be seen by the agencies that they have to serve. And so, if we have to eliminate financial duplications in technology deployment, this should come under the purview of NITA, so that we don't build infrastructure across each other in silos, avoiding financial duplication, as I said, and then even prescribing solutions which can be unified on a uniform platform. And again, I said here, determining the exact bandwidth and throughput capacity required for MDAs to act. Thankfully, this will all be accounted for in the regulations that are under development. The NITA will have to set and define standards and guidelines. At the moment, we don't even have the standards and guidelines to bind or to guide all of us, so that if the head of civil service visits one entity, the same guidelines there are applying to the other guidelines. I remember whilst I was serving as your humble servant in the Ministry of Communication, there was a team from the audit service which came and said they wanted to check our IT policies and regulations. Thankfully, because we were in the ministry for ICT, we had it. But I asked myself, how many others knew this? That you have to have your protocols for everything. So this is where we are saying that we need these guidelines to be done, so that we can migrate on the bandwidth, so that we can eliminate enterprise solution redundancies, which are all over. And again, we are talking about universal scope access. GIFEC, again, also created in 2008, as of date, hasn't got its regulation in place by our research. And so, the clear definition of universal access and universal service has also become difficult. And so, at the moment, we don't even know the minimum download speeds that all infrastructure service providers, the service provider that we should provide us, even on our phones, on our office network. Some of us are linked to them. What is the download speed? We are only using them, and we say, oh no, the capacity is low. The upload speed. You are uploading something and it's not moving. Yet we are paying for the internet cost at the offices. These are all roles that have to be accomplished by NITA, so that SLAs will guide our relationship as service with the private sector providing these services. On universal service, we also think that it would be right for some free hotspots to be given as a right, so that the services we send they can be accessed by the citizenry. Ensuring cybersecurity is key, and quite recently, I think the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization launched the Cybersecurity Committee. Who joined the Cybersecurity Committee. That is a very good move, so that acting in tandem with the Cybersecurity Authority, cybersecurity control will be monitored, because we need to have complete control over the information we have put on the network to avoid espionage of a third country activity. And then open source promotion. Here I've just listed the advantages of open source. I didn't talk about proprietary, but I've just listed advantages here for us to know that if we want to build a skill set of our citizenry, of our staff, then we need to move and give a wider attention to open source development, because that is where we can have the source code of the softwares that we are using to modify. Else, we would be resorting to proprietary at very high cost to government. I remember when I was in the ministry again, Ghana was to sign an agreement with a proprietary service provider, and it came to my attention. We reviewed it with NITA, and I told the Minister of Finance that I don't think we can go into this to put the country in that direction. But what are we doing? And so we need to address that as well. And then some areas requiring quarter change management and their impact. The analog phase, yes, is actually giving way. If we are talking about what is different between them, then we are really talking about difference in human culture. I can do it, I can't do it. But the citizenry as consumers of digital services and products provided by the civil service, all efforts have to be made to provide consumer protection guarantees applicable to services so provided by MDAs. And so here we have some of them. Appointment of information system officers and report regime. I think the head of civil service was here. During his time, he supported, together with Mrs. Katriku then at the PSC, for us to put in place the scheme of service for the ITIM class, simply because we felt that we needed to use that class to drive that change from that angle. The process was frustrated because I think at that time the fair wages also could not rationalize their salaries because of pressures from other professional bodies. I don't know what the system is now, but our research shows that we lack leading officers in information systems who will drive this process. And then we need now to amend the ways that we recruit and retrain people with technical skills. We need to review the 2013 ITIM scheme of service, as I just mentioned. And indeed, Kofi Annan Center of Excellence for ICT and the Civil Service Training Center should now develop their new models for training in areas covering Industry 4.0 skills. We are talking about Internet of Things. We are talking about machine learning from data. We are talking about data analytics. Are these institutions which fall under the government, fall under the civil service, are they ready to turn out these skills sets for the civil servants? If we don't take care, what we have to avoid is that we always have to bring consultants who will come into the civil service and they would never like to train, but they would like to extend their consultancy, and so they will come with the knowledge and go. I think it was time that we did this in partnership also with PSC to guide, and then NITA, now that their roles are being defined, for them to help us to develop this. Promoting the culture of rewarding innovation and task ahead of the public sector reform ministry. I think elsewhere, you will notice that a league table is provided, looking at a ministry to indicate that this ministry would have to reach this level of achievement. I was happy to see even there was some football competition during the week. I said, wow, I wish I were here to have also joined. It brought a lot of enthusiasm competition. We must have a ladder for our innovative movement. And that should be the responsibility of public sector reform. They actually started it sometime, but I don't think it's there. Yes, the MOC will act, bring out all the, but then the public sector reform should, Secretariat should watch how we are able to interact in that area. And then ensuring inclusiveness of persons with disabilities also to participate. And so I've talked about the civil service digital skills, OACS in consultation of the Public Service Commission, and with technical staff from NITA to review the scheme of entry into the civil service, raising the entry requirement to include basic computer literacy. Maybe it has been done. in respect of word processing, spreadsheet, and basic databases, in respect of administration, related positions, knowledge of databases, entries, and usage must be the basic career path training that enhances the capacity of civil service in the use of database creation, inputting, query, data analysis, and the like should also form part of the roles or career skill set for higher administrative positions. And this is very important. Gender mainstreaming and digital inclusiveness. I think, yes, we can even count a lot more women here. So let's clap for the women. Yes. How involving are we making sure that consciously they will have their role? Statistics show that 20% of women and girls have access to, little of them have access to the internet. And it is also shown that this gender gap has direct implications on the loss to the economy. So we need to make sure that they have technological accessibility, the technological know-how, and the application and diffusion of technology. This is very key. And the policy that is coming, I think, is proposing this diffusion aspect of the whole. Working toward the promotion of digital literacy and language is very key. If we have to reach a lot of people, we must make sure that what we have can be translated into the local languages, at least one language in each of the 16 regions. And this is a national issue that has to be taken into consideration. Social media impact on information and knowledge production. I visited the site of the Ministry of Information. So you can reach us on WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. It's very good. But what are the regulations in place to guide the usage by the civil servant, to guide the usage in the public sector? I think this is also a gap that NCA, and for that matter the ministry and the Media Commission will have to look at in collaboration with the service to work on. We need to have the guidelines. More often we hear somebody's WhatsApp or page has been hacked. So the information put there might not even come from the service. This is an area that we have to take care of. And then my concluding remarks. Our engagements has revealed there is more we need to do to enable our leadership and workforce to be more innovative and creative as we serve the citizenry in our current way to attain proficiency and efficiency in delivery. Making full use of emerging technologies in the service delivery or the civil service requires non-technical people at all levels of government to understand their potential to transform services. Civil servants in all professions, such as HR, policy, finance, planning, would need to think more systematically and creatively about how they can impact. Indeed, if you are an HR expert, your capacity as an HR expert to impact on the skill set of the IT officer you are going to recruit so that that skill set can translate into the productivity of the office. So everybody will come on board. This call for emphasis to be placed on sustained change management. In this regard, let us strive to get understanding of the concept of innovation to gain more and more traction in MDAs. And so, even as we count on specialist knowledge to drive the innovation hub, it was equally time that all civil servants were encouraged to feel part of the technology innovation process in government, improve the services delivery, be open to innovative solutions as they grasp the transformational opportunities provided under the emerging technology regime. In conclusion, I wish to urge all civil servants to stand in readiness to contribute to the stakeholder discussions, draft digital policy, strategy, and action plan and indicators for measurement, which documents are now in the custody of the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization and are to be presented to stakeholders for discussion. I've presented some of your findings from the questionnaire that we administered. And out of that, we've come with the draft policy. You own the document, and your final ownership is when you take part in validating all those policies that we have put there. The linkages that we have to establish with the private sector, the linkages that we have to establish with the citizenry. They are all entailed in the document. And I wish to thank you. I have some few references here that can be referred to. So I wish to thank you, and I wish the civil service well. Thank you very much.
Yes, it can't get better than that. And you see the synergy between the performance. So let's show some more appreciation. Thank you very much. You know, from the context to the policy framework to what the actors must do, etc., identifying the various challenges and the way to improve upon them and so on, and then of course the benefits that we derive from it. And then I like it when you summarize and indicate that we should be participating. And that's fit into my own personal philosophy that is either you are at the table or you be on the menu. You don't participate, somebody will participate and fashion out a document for you. You either be at the table or you be on the menu. That's our charge. That's the can we carry. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show some more appreciation. Now, before this presenter comes in, we need to energize the body a little bit. So, Head of Service, with your permission, we invite the Ghana Dance Ensemble from the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana, to energize it a little bit. So, Ghana Dance Ensemble, please. Can we do it better for them, please? I'm told that this is a national dance ensemble from the National Theatre, not the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana. Sometimes you get carried away. So National Dance Ensemble from the National Theatre, this is refreshing. I mean, something that could literally encourage the head of service to take some few steps. That can be good. That means the standards are high. And the minister was also in there. And that took me back to level 200 when I had to do African studies. So I was actually getting into the spirit. And I said, let me hold it. Thank you very much for that wonderful performance. We need to nurture our own, right? And reinvigorate the way we do things. We have the private sector. And I'm happy that Dr. Adakwa indicated that there must be some synergistic relationship with the private sector. That is why the planners, in consultation with the head of service, indicated that there's a need for the private sector participation. So today we are happy to have the president of the AGI, to actually deliver. Just a brief one. He's an industrialist. He's an entrepreneur. He's also a management consultant. career spanning over 22 years in management, consulting, industrial packaging, among others, mining, bulk haulage, and so on. Very impeccable credentials that he has. He also has a serious academic bent as well. And he holds, as you know, he holds a doctorate degree in business administration, has done some considerable research in some areas in organizational management and so on. So, ladies and gentlemen, the private sector person is going to speak to a very important team that we have selected. Digitalization in the civil service of Ghana. By this time, implications for private sector development. Shall we welcome Dr. Dake?
Good morning. To my colleagues that did the lovely dance, if the culture and the spirit really was charged, I won't say it was like a beshi, just hit you like that. We are glad. Lovely dance. I'm grateful. Honorable Deputy Minister, Communication and Digitalization, Madam Amma Puma, Head of Civil Service, the former Director of Ministry of Communication and Digitalization, Dr. Dakwa. Excellent presentation, Doc. I'm tempted to shorten my 4-pager to by virtue of your delivery. Fellow industrialists, CEOs present, invited guests, our friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be part of this annual service week celebration, and I'm grateful for your kind invitation. To state, I'm not disappointed at the delivery of Dr. Dakwa, even though I walked in late. Halfway, I'm convinced that you selecting Doc deliver this paper the best thing you could do for such big celebration. Doc, we are grateful. To the extent that he touched on a number of issues that private sector needs to have this going, I have the feel that yes, a combined CV of private sector and public sector can do nothing better than what he did. And therefore, Doc, I can promise the gathering that my pager of 4 will be 2, and we'll just move on and implement what Doc has recommended. AGI, I bring you felicitations from the Association of Ghana Industries, the leading voice of our private sector. It's heartwarming to be in the midst of people who are committed to making a change in the lives of the citizens of our country. We consider our civil service an important partner that can contribute meaningfully to improve public service delivery. And we are delighted to join you at this moment. Do accept our hearty congratulations on this occasion of your Civil Service Week celebration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's obvious that the exigencies of our time call for immediate actions to address the current needs. The big question is, how do we brace up to meet not only the increasing sophisticated needs of our society, but also our own need to keep pace with the evolving technologies of our times? We need to broaden this conversation, and that is why it was exciting to the industry and myself to be part of this week's engagement. At a very strenuous weekend, we had no choice but to be part of you to deepen the imperative of the times, while we believe digitization and your team has chosen is very relevant for the times that we find ourselves. Secondly, it's our firm belief that only a private sector dominated led industrial development with mutual support from public institutions to reform and improve regulatory processes and service delivery will help create sustainable employment, wealth, and growth of the Ghanaian economy. And the Association of Ghana Industries, we remain committed to this cause, partnering you to achieve this noble goal. We are at a pivotal time in our economic development. And as we move forward, perhaps the greatest aspiration any of us could hope for is an investment in the digitization agenda of the current government, bringing emphasis and a conscious effort to leapfrog the country to this state of digitization. As per your team, digitization in the civil service of Ghana, an agenda for improved productivity and service delivery. This resonates with the needs of the times, and as stated, it is imperative. Admittedly, our private sector depends largely on the public sector for many services. At the public sector level, we expect to see our public institutions and government strengthen public administration and accountability structures to reduce the bureaucracy in order to build business confidence for the private sector to enable it to thrive. It is the combination of good governance, effective MDAs, role, play, and the efficient private sector contribution that will collectively bring efficiency in the way we operate as an economy. It is not in doubt that the state is the biggest procurer of goods and services in our country, and the role of the civil service is crucial to attaining this goal. The extent to which data is needed today in a modern society lies within your domain, and as captured in the earlier presenter's engagement, a private sector role is very important to complement your effort in terms of efficiency and in terms of delivery to the final consumer. We do give you our commitment, and we pray that this collaborative engagement will be expedited. I seek not to go through past experiences. However, we could list a number of interventions that over the period of this digitization agenda, we could attest to as the private sector that has been meaningful. One is that of the recent expansion of the port and the role of ICAMS, the payment systems, the integrated role GRA today is playing by virtue of roping in and synchronizing all our taxing systems through the various units. Previously, we knew we had the IRS system, we had the customs division system, and so forth and so on. Today, I keep telling colleagues that in the business space, that if you do not declare your books, don't declare your data correctly, it's a matter of time, the system will pop you out. And we can see that happening gradually. Friends will keep calling and say, hey, the GRA is harassing me. Then I ask you, are you sure your books are up to date? As long as you are paying your VAT, your port entries, and the various declaration, system of today will catch up with you in a matter of time. Colleagues in the private sector space, the GRA has enough rules supporting them to go back 6 years and over if they do find any compelling reasons. So if your data is not up to date, if your books are not up to date, you might need to reform, because the system of digitization will catch up with you in a matter of time. That is how important this system that we're deploying will aid the country Ghana rake in the relevant revenue. So if we do not expedite this action to rake in the revenue and the taxes that government needs, we all find ourselves in a situation currently that we know what is happening, and our systems and our economy is being downgraded by virtue of lack of liquidity. And those are the challenges if revenues do not come in. The only way out is digitization, and we need to expedite and partner the civil service and government to attain this goal. Skipping a few of my notes, I just proceed to say, having mentioned this, permits me to intimate that we appear to continue to experience some unexplained delays in service delivery by some of our MDAs. These delays and bureaucracies alone are a huge cost, not only to the private sector, but also to government. These bottlenecks have the potential to derail some of our digital gains and sites of foreign investment and local investment. Considering the delivery Doc made and my concern just expressed, that if we do not expedite this digitization agenda, we find ourselves at the crossroads where government will be struggling to get the requisite revenue to develop this said country of ours. So it is that when government will not, together with private sector, develop regulations and processes and protocols for such enterprise, we will find a number of foreign direct investment invading the space. And like Doctor said, there you will see monopolist and oligopolistic markets being created in this space. I do emphasize on one aspect where SMEs take advantage of the VAS system, the value-added systems. And in the past, the evolution of that industrial space brought about a lot of our young graduates from Ashesi and the various telecom university, and a number of them creating a lot of business ideas in the software space, creating a lot of software to complement the insurance companies, the financial companies, and so on and so forth. But lack of regulation today have allowed some network operators to take charge of this space, and they are killing initiatives in SMEs in expanding this space. And therefore we are excited, as Doctor mentioned, that a lot of regulations are being formulated. As to how fast that will come in, it's imperative considering the extent to which it's killing initiative and innovation. Secondly, to add to that, it is a clear strategy that could leapfrog young graduates that are gravitating towards the technology space to create what is needful. So, Doc, and through the civil service, we are suggesting to government to expedite the rollout of these regulations and curtail the monopolistic tendencies of some networks and the oligopolistic outfit in the market that is distracting the growth of our SMEs and the innovations from our students and our SMEs entrepreneurs. At the weekend, I was delivering a paper at my alma mater, and at the end of it, one young man walked to me and said, I've developed a software through your DNA. So by virtue of your DNA, you should be able to open your phone, and it's all customized to you and for any other technology services. I was blown away when the young man told me this. I said, give me your contact. I'll get my IT team members to talk to you. However, if you cannot handhold such potential innovators and create an ecosystem through NITA, through the NCA, regulating the processes and holding them to create the needed innovation for the transformation of this economy, we still be lagging behind to meet the revenue targets of government. Indeed, digitalization must be an integral part of our public sector reforms to engender transparency, fairness, and efficiency in service delivery. Digital technology has become a toolkit for civil service. The old ways of doing businesses were a barrier to unlocking the full potential of the sector. Now, digital technology within the civil service should provide a fast route to getting our jobs done speedily and cost-effectively. Employees can save time and work more productively and cohesively, even across cities, countries, and continents through technology. Our regular work schedule of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. has inherent inefficiencies. We need to purge. People report for work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., yet effective working time may only be 2 hours within the said period. By improving technology in the civil service, it becomes more appealing to younger workers. Graduates are expecting a technologically advanced workplace. They have grown up in the digital age, often being completely unfamiliar with the way things used to be. This means they can work best when given the technology they are proficient at using. It therefore brings the challenge of skills development. And we know that sometimes there is this phobia with the technology and the speed of advancement in the civil service and in the public service. We can only say training and availing yourself to the modern times will keep your job. But for that, it's a matter of time. Technology can be a threat to you if you refuse to take advantage of such. It is imperative to bear in mind that going digital is no more an option, but a requirement of the age we live in, and we will expect public workforce to embrace and maintain digital skills. A number of SMEs found value in virtual and digital solutions during the outbreak of the COVID, thereby changing the way and manner they do business. My emphasis on this space is regulation. My emphasis on this space is the process and the protocols that should be defined by the NCA and NITA under the Ministry of Communication. When our young entrepreneurs come over and complain bitterly how they've been muscled out in terms of their pricing, because some networks that are very dominant will take advantage of the data and the network systems that they have and muscle out our younger folks under the VAS systems. We believe that we need clear regulations, break the back of monopoly. But for that, all our data will be aggregated and be controlled by a few, and that will be a security threat to the nation. Even though we have the quest to digitize, we pray that the decision makers who avert their mind to the threat, the data threat, the cyber threat, and the monopolistic tendencies in the market as a result of our fragile nature of our economy. I'm convinced that our industrial sector, which forms an important nexus in our economy, would record a higher contribution to GDP if we deploy the appropriate technology and build synergy between the public and private sectors. It's therefore imperative that we deepen this digitization agenda for the private sector to leverage on the acceleration of our socio-economic development. That is well captured in a number of government initiatives, and we know we could attest to what is happening in the DVLA unit, where the data collection and the synchronization of each data and its monetization can be enhanced for government's good and the citizens' good. I'm aware that digitization certainly generates user data, and we crave the indulgence of our public institutions to ensure effective data protection of privacy in our engagement. In closing, I would like to express our profound gratitude to all our civil officers for their efforts in serving our nation, Ghana. We can only say from industry and the private sector, are equal, and you have us as partners in this route and in this path. God bless us, and God bless our country, Ghana. Thank you.
Shall we do it better? There are some who are being tempted. They are being tempted to clap and they are resisting the temptation. Don't resist. Please, let's show appreciation. Head of service, it was worth the effort. I'm particularly interested in the bit that recognizing that the private sector can only function in an atmosphere where the state is also firing on all cylinders. If the state does not set the ground rules, and I'm happy, the free market will attract all kinds of people, sometimes even including crooks. Yes, including crooks. So who will be there to ensure that the crooks are taken care of? The state. So the state will be there to ensure that those negative externalities are taken care of to pave the way for you to effectively function. And then I like the bit, raking in the necessary revenue. I'm sure Chief Director Finance, we should be happy with this particular position. We are grateful. We're now opening the floor, and then of course we open the opportunity, we give opportunity to those who want to contribute. So Doc, the two doctors, join me here. Be with me. Up stage. And as you take the questions that will come from So ladies and gentlemen, we heard the two presentations, and we want you to now. It's a question, can be contributions, can be query. It's not firm. Right. So we open the floor for questions. So you just introduce yourself, who you are, where you're coming from, not your hometown, but I'm talking about the institution. And then you make your question snappy, simple, straight, short. And then so our panelists will deal with the questions. Yes? Is that Achu? Yes, Achu. Okay, I can recognize it from here. So Achu, you have the floor. Who's, please manage the mic for me. One of you should do that. Achu from OACS? Okay. So come this way, there's a mic here. So quickly, he said we have just about 30 minutes to do this. 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes to do this, so. From MTN or from them? Yeah. Okay, so maybe the minister will take that. I'm not sure whether you are inclined. Yeah. Yes. So, would that Deputy Minister?
Yes, so Deputy Minister, I'm inviting you to invite.
She will have an opportunity to respond to all of these. So. You take those situations somewhat. If any of us can address the talk.
Okay. So first of all, let me seize the opportunity to presence of the Deputy Minister. I think I miss your coming, so I couldn't wave you whilst I was going to sit down. Convey our regards to the Honourable Minister as well. I think Doc spoke about the Data Protection Act. the Data Protection Act is in place, and the Data Protection Commission would have to ensure that data commissioners keep this data they collect in full confidence. But the question the guy asks is very relevant. If we are centralizing data, why are we duplicating? It could be that this is a subset of the NIA data. Because the NIA data, I think we had the data hitting the EFIS and coming back instantly. So you'll be there, they take your data, it goes to the EFIS and comes back. Then your card is ready. This is a subset, but it borders on data protection, which he has inquired. Are those multinationals going to be the repository of that data? This is exactly what Doc was saying. So it's an area for policy and regulatory regulation to take note of. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we'll take a couple of questions, then we'll come back and they respond so we can make some time. Yes, so introduce yourself once again and then you tell us, ask your question.
Good morning. My name is Dorcas. From the Department of Corporate. So I'd like to find out if it's compulsory for all state enterprises to use NITA, or they can use some other network provider to provide them with internet connection.
These institutions, whether we are required to use NITA or they can resort to other service providers. Okay, so another one. So you talked about gender mainstreaming, right? This is right here. So I'm sure you are happy with that.
Yeah, my question is protection. The information that they are taking in the compilation of national Ghana card, they are taking our personal data, ranging from your date of birth, your everything. And I think what is personal should be personal to me, and it should be hidden. But they are claiming everything, and all the telcos, depending on the number of them that you are using. You're using MTN, the Voter, the Go, Tigo, Tigo. They all accept them. They all ask for the same thing, and they claim that they are teaming it up with the SNIT, the driving license, with your passport, and all sorts of information. How secure are we? And how safe are we in putting those things out there?
Much. One more, and then we'll come back to our panelists, our resource persons.
Hello, my name is Doji, and I have a question regarding...
Doji from where?
Doji from Hedge Pensions Trust. I have a question regarding blockchain technology. You made mention of that during your presentation. Currently, with regards to cryptocurrency, it's more in the gray area. Some entities have tried to set up businesses, and there has been a bit of pushback. I have a very good friend that he got funding to initiate a program called Bitland, and that was essentially trying to put the registry of land titles in one ledger in order to help accountability. Blockchain technology is not only restricted to cryptocurrency, there are other areas, smart contracts, to name a few. So moving forward, how can we legislate and regulate and create policies that can create a good climate for the development of blockchain technology to allow the startup space and development and accountability in governance to prosper? Thank you.
So what can you take?
Well,
This one, you answer any of them.
Okay, I'll take the fraud framework up. That has to do with monitoring and evaluation of the policies that are being rolled out. One concern we find ourselves in the private sector, where we sometimes make big concerns with government implementation of policy, is the M&E aspect of it. It's one thing to develop a lovely policy, with a developmental agenda, very ambitious. Once you take your eye off the ball in the monitoring and evaluation and the feedback process, that should help you perfect the system. Because it's a dynamic system. The technology space, it's absolutely dynamic. So per the question of the lady on the data, private data, I mean, that's what the Private Data Protection Act seeks to protect. However, we expect that the regulator in the space should have a department reporting to the ministry to be looking at the said process in monitoring and in evaluating and the feedback process, and where there are leakages, what policy do you bring in, what law do you bring in quickly to correct it so that we don't escalate into different areas of concerns and fraud and other related matter. So I'll answer it on the broad frame space and allow the experts to take it up.
Okay, Dr. Adakwa, would you want to look at the framework, the environment that we need to create as public sector operatives to allow these private setups and startups to actually function optimally?
Yes, I think as I mentioned in the earlier discussions with you, the timely intervention of the Minister of Communication to come out with a digital policy and strategy as well as the action plan is very good. And in that policy, which I was part of the team, or I've been part of the team that is facilitating, and in the questionnaire, all these issues were raised up. I mean, how do we facilitate blockchain development? And I'm happy the gentleman mentioned it, because that is the new trend for record keeping and for innovation. Various suggestions came up. And so the policy framework is requesting that we have a systematic approach, even with cryptocurrency, the role of the regulators, including Bank of Ghana, Securities Exchange Commission, have all been identified. I am using this occasion once again to crave the indulgence of the ministry to bring the policy to the fore for discussion, the draft policy, because people are eager from the way they are inquiring to see the outcome of the inputs they gave during the questionnaire administration. Yes, why are we not being riding on NITA facilitated network? That has been the vision of the country. If you look at the infrastructure outlay that we brought from the metro fibers, from the fibers that we have across the country, the management issue was raised. And we had the impression that NITA was going to have a private sector collaboration in the management of the infrastructure so that it will be robust. Again, the ministry would have to maybe ensure that under the NITA regulations, which are also now being revived, I mean, all these issues will be taken care of. Because as I said, if we ask ourselves, what is the throughput of bandwidth that we are using in the ministry? Nobody can calculate now. And so, upload, download time, everything. But NITA, when it's clothed with the regulations, who should be able to do all this? And that is what we are anticipating will happen. Yes, there are various challenging innovations which require regulations, which require guidelines, and we expect that the agencies of the ministry, in collaboration with other stakeholders, GIFEC, NITA, and NCA, will collaborate to place these guidelines and place the policy implementation, as my colleague said, into progress, instead of just having the policies. And maybe head of civil service, from the concern raised about data protection, you may maybe organize a workshop with the Data Protection Commission facilitating. I think it's a very important area. Data protection is very key, and they need to demystify what data protection is all about, what the commission is doing. Because once you take data, you are supposed to register as a data commissioner and have some linkages reporting. Are they being supervised? This data that is being taken even by hospitals, they are supposed to have commissioner there. What is the implementation like? And that is the gap that my colleague was mentioning. So thank you very much.
What about NITA vis-a-vis the private sector, the public sector institutions, and whether the public sector institutions have an option to disregard NITA or use NITA? What will be the framework? That's the concern that somebody raised, that are they required by law to necessarily use NITA?
In terms of, let's say, I recall that at a point in time, a directive was given that no civil servant was to use a Yahoo account or a Gmail account in the government system. This is a directive which has to be enforced, and it can be enforced when the guidelines for migration onto the .gh has been well set, with standards, protocols, as my colleague said, well defined, so that it doesn't also thwart the work of the MDA. Are they there? Are they being enforced? Perhaps this is an area for regulation, enforcement, and as I said, the ministry is working, as I'm privy to, and we must ensure that if we want actually to use digitalization to drive the process, then we put all these regulatory measures in place without a gap. That is the only way going. And so if you are maybe using a service provider, not NITA, is it that NITA's bandwidth for internet provision to your ministry is not accessible? That's why you have gone to Vodafone? Or is it that because there's no coordination, we are just increasing duplications, which was very clear in the submission I made, that NITA should be empowered, said that all these redundancies, and that's how come we have redundancies. Some ministries are well endowed, they can have upload and download time. Just a nearby ministry is also facing difficulty in even giving the private sector an information that it wants. This coordination is very important. And I think it was time that we got NITA well clothed in this regulatory environment, which the ministry is facilitating. But as my colleague said, time is of essence.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Time is of the essence. And of course, the NITA's role actually will fit into the role of the state in this regard, making sure that the framework is intact for others to operate. The social media handles, do you have some people who are watching online and or following and will want to ask questions? Check if there are questions for us. Why not? We will deliver. Ladies and gentlemen, we're still in a public lecture by the head of civil, under the auspices of the head of civil service, 2022 Civil Service Week, and we are dealing with the subject of the day, digitalization. You want to transform our economy, is that not it? So open the floor for maybe another round of questions, and then after which I will say that we are fed up. The minister will not leave. Yes, we're winding up. We're winding up. So once this, I'm sure you want to go to Parliament. Well, they are not going to take any vote now. So.
Thank you very much. Yes, mine it's linked to what Dr. Kwachi just said. But I think that on terms of coordination, but I think that the other side we might have to look has to also do with the sources and the financing these institutions to be in tandem of what the policy requires. Very important. I remember a time ago, the Minister of Finance, a good friend has just got up, indicated that all communication to them should be through the internet. And that was being insisted. But it was very difficult for some of these very public institutions to do that, because their system is such a way that one day it works, the other day it doesn't work, 3 days, you don't have access to internet. So how would they promptly communicate if the central institution in charge of resources says you can only communicate to us through the internet? So these are some of the things. If we want to do that, it's not a matter of just having the policy, but we must also look at the resources to implement this policy, and especially those who are lagging and challenged and not having the needed resources to be able to do that. We must also turn and look at them. The inclusiveness should also be an inclusion of resource transfer to those who we want to be included in this process. Coordination is key, but inclusiveness is vital. But a lot of civil service institutions challenged with the resources to match with what we expect them to do in policy. Thank you very much.
Yes, we want to have a bite. No. So one more question, and then we'll bring this session to a close, because there are other programs lined up. Anybody touched by the Spirit? Right. So we'll come back and deal with the National Development Planning Commission question of resources. So inclusiveness is not just that you want to be included, but it's sometimes a question of whether you have the fiscal space at all. So maybe from both, yes.
Perspective. One immediately, because there's a gap analysis that must happen. Doc demonstrated that there must be a strategic paper, strategic plan that must complement that policy, make it effective. And therefore, my expectation from an agency of position through the ministry, what sort of paper do you develop with that policy directive? Some will compel you convert that challenge to opportunity, and then how then do you deploy an operational manual that will lead that to an IGF, so that an internal generated fund can be created out of it, monetizing the challenge to an opportunity. That is a private sector mindset, which I can bring to that concern. I had a recent discussion with National Development Planning Authority, proposals that you are planning and desirous of rolling out, and we question how then do you really program yourself and table it under the PPP Act. And one commissioner mentioned a mandate doesn't give us that opportunity. And I said, with that mindset, you are blocking the ability to explore beyond the box, because the mandate says so, but there is a directive that is requesting you to comply with National Development Plan, a security-related matter. Therefore, you should come up with a strategic paper. If you need to bring about reforms in the mandate of the institution, then table it for consideration, so that it becomes progressive in engagement and in thought, with the mindset of meeting the desired goal for development. Yes, you're under resource, so that is why you're a leader there. What else do you do new? What can you try sending the directive that you need to tweak this aspect, and you advocate on it, and you try and find. That's when the lobbying comes in, because some ministries have strong capacity to lobby than others. That shouldn't be the case, but that's the nature of the finger. You don't have it all equal, so you got to be innovative in the leadership that are leading the agency, the private mindset, generate internally generated funds to complement the lack of resources, help you attain them. Thank you.
Doc, for that intervention. Doc, your take on this last one, then we bring the curtain down.
I think that observation is from a body which is central to our planning, and thank you very much. I think the emphasis should be on interoperability, even as we have limited resources. Why are we acting in silos? Why are we trying to do technology procurement in silos when we are under-resourced? When if there was a coordination, there could have been an interoperable platforms for these services to run at minimal cost. For me, That is the key. Government has invested so much in infrastructure, and I illustrated that. What is left is implementation and monitoring of these policies, and I'll insist again that maybe from NDPC perspective, NITE's input in planning of the telecommunication sector in the NDPC guidelines should be sourced. I recall some time back when I was working with Professor Jijonu, I was always a student to him in policy development, and I say he's my mentor. We were called by NDPC to insert into the national planning the technology-driven agenda. So we need to inculcate that, and that will eliminate a lot of bottlenecks, a lot of silos that we are seeing now, which is also bringing about the burden of funding to various MDAs. That's what I can add. But that's a very, very incisive question that you asked. Thank you very much. Now, say it's much more of a contribution. Yes, thank you.
Can we show appreciation to these panelists? Thank you very much for coming. You may resume your other seat as we bring the curtain down. We are grateful to you for your presence and sharing this perspective with us, and it's been very rich. I'm sure that we've learned some lessons, and hopefully when we go back to our offices, these interventions will help us deepen the digitalization agenda so we can serve our people better. So at this point, we as I said, we're bringing the curtain down, and we are bringing the curtain down as we're going to invite the Honorable Deputy Minister of Communications and Digitalization. And she's a three-time MP or three-term MP. With MPship, like any serious wine, it gets better with time. You understand? I mean, you don't. So if you have the Deputy Minister here herself to deliver some closing remarks, and you take advantage of the opening remarks as well. And I'm sure you have also listened to the discussions. So you take some of those concerns on board and see what framework you have to deal with the digitalization agenda of this country. So you can, okay.
Thank you very much. I'd like to stand on existing protocols and start speaking. I know Nana keeps looking at the time, and I wouldn't want to waste anyone's time. I'd like to say that the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization is really happy to be here, because this gives us the opportunity to know what you think, what you want, and what government can do. The role that you play is so important that not participating in this program would have been a big, big mistake. Sitting here, I thought maybe we should have brought all our agencies here, because from data protection, cyber security, Kofi Annan Center of Excellence, the famous NITA, GIFEC, Ghana domain name, and all these Ghana Post by DOC, they are all under us, and we are working so hard to meet your expectations. So DOC, or all the doctors have given us a very good insight what digitalization, and digital transformation is, what the private sector can do, and what the private sector expects from government, and what the private sector expects from MOCD, issues on SIM registration to the blockchain technologies have all been discussed. And I am very happy to say that all the things that have been discussed are seriously being discussed by MOCD, which is being led by my minister. Even when it comes to the blockchain technology, even on the floor of Parliament, I know we spoke on that, the need for us to revise the laws to meet the current technological trends. The interest of most people have been on the fintechs, and that was under Bank of Ghana. It wasn't so much under the Ministry of Communications, but we are working together to make sure that the right laws are in place. When it comes to data protection, the laws are already in place. The data controllers have been trained. If data commission finds out that you are not handling or managing data properly, or you are not certified, you would have to face the law. All these MNOs or mobile network operators, when you see them taking your information, these people have been trained or are certified by Data Protection Commission. So initially, you remember there were long queues because these MNOs had to make sure that whoever is handling your information is certified by the law. Ghana Post, I'll quickly go to Ghana Post. We are rebranding. We now have the e-commerce phase. We are providing the last mile to the Amazons and all these big e-commerce giants. We are also keenly looking at the African e-commerce space. When it comes to ECOWAS, we are in there. We want to make sure that all these electronic payment systems are allowed in our neighboring countries for us to trade. So MOCD is playing a key role in that as well. But what are your expectations as a civil servant when it comes to this digital or digitalization agenda? MOCD has been working with various partners, and we are keenly interested in the civil service. We are interested because you do the work for government. Even when policies have to be in place, without you, nothing goes on. So we are making sure that you are competent or you have the rightful skills to meet the new technologies that are running at a fast pace. They are running faster than our laws. So we are now playing catch up. Well, hopefully we would be on track with the expectations from us. So MOCD has been spearheading a series of initiatives. One of our agencies, which is the Accra Digital Center, is a place for the young people or young entrepreneurs to go and have the physical space, to have the training, to have the network, to have the partnerships, to have people mentor them, to bring their business ideas into fruition. So, Doc, we'll be very happy to meet this young gentleman who has developed something for us to be proud of. We would want to support him because I think on Thursday there's going to be a launch for all these tertiary students who have so many theses with business ideas, and we want to use this digital space to assist them to create their businesses or their ideas into something very fruitful. So, like I said, MOCD would want to continue our partnership with you. We have our training centers ready to assist you. We are ready with all the data analytics training. We are very, very on top when it comes to the training needs. We would want to offer our services to you for you to be equipped to meet the new technologies like the AIs and the big data. How do we make use of the data that we are collecting? How is that impacting the work that we do? How are we going to be innovative enough? How are we going paperless? Is it wise to go paperless now? How are we using the digital tools to solve all these SDGs that we know of? So some of the initiatives, like I said, are we digitizing the Registrar General's Department, birth and death registry, e-procurement, e-justice, e-immigration, everything e, we are in there. We have e-parliament, everything e. E-pharmacy, recently we met, there was a program at NCA, and it was for, the theme was for the aged, and interestingly, the elderly folks that came in were once civil servants, the pensioners, and they said, okay, one day you become old, you become like us, so take care of us now. So my minister has developed, we have a content now that we are going to train the pensioners, just like we do for the girls in ICT. So we are just about grow, but we'll come and talk with you, and if there's anything you would want us to add on, we will do so. We would want everyone to be included in all the things digital. So once again, we are very happy to be part of this week's celebrations. I'm not sure all our agencies are here, but from the look of things, we'll quickly whip them to come here because NITA seems to be a popular agency here. They are very, very important to the work that you do. We also need financial resources if Ministry of Finance is here, because we would also want to give you the best. We would also want to make sure that you use the services of NITA. But I don't blame you. If you want the internet and NITA is off, you would be tempted to use another service. But NITA too is overstretched because the resources are not coming. So we can only give what we have. But we are working really hard to getting other sources of funds to assist us, especially NITA, to provide its services to you. I have been in Parliament for some time, and I remember till I got to this ministry when I co-chaired the ICT steering committee with the clerk, and when people or members decide not to use NITA, it was like, NITA, no. But being at the ministry, I know the challenges that they go through. And so please hold on a bit. We'll get our finances in place and we'll give you the best service that you deserve. So once again, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and we are going to stay with you throughout the week. If or when you have any ideas that you think the ministry has to take charge of, please, our arms are wide open. You know, it's a women ministry, so our arms are very wide open. We would like to serve you with the best that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much for... I'm not surprised at all that you are a product of Holy Child. Yeah, I mean, you can see the elegance, you know. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm happy that you are using your service at IPU, the ECOWAS Parliament, and others to support. And of course, your training in the Kennedy School, Boston, Massachusetts, you know, and other places to assist us, Pennsylvania, and so on. Yes, so that we can get our policies right. The framework is very important. The head of service believes strongly that there must be a facilitating state. The state must be developmental, it has to be facilitating, it must also be a regulatory state. So we can get our acts together and Before the head of service comes in to be in his own elements, let me acknowledge these institutions. We want to acknowledge CLOGSAGWE. They have been phenomenal. All the T-shirts and the Lacoste and others, you see, they have provided the buildings and everything at their expense, including the irresistible, the ever irresistible. I've added ever, so the ever irresistible CLOGSAGWE band, yes, to supporting us in this particular exercise. We are also very happy to indicate to you that the public sector reform for resource project has been phenomenal. The World Bank, they have provided a lot of fiscal space to be able to help us deal with what we are doing. Of course, Government of Ghana through the Ministry of Finance and Head of Service through the Chief Director and the ministers, etc. They have proved extremely useful in this particular exercise. In the face of the challenges, we still were able to distill the relevant resources to be able to execute this important agenda. We are grateful. Let me also say that we are grateful to the Civil Service Council, who provided all the guidance, all the support. Of course, the chief directors and all the sector ministries. This year, it's sad to relate that the support by way of the fiscal space was not forthcoming, and you can understand. I mean, if the chairman's ministry is owing, then you can't fault anybody. I mean, so. But those who were out there have been. Yeah. That is the advantage of being a chairman. So I enjoy some amenities, Yes. But in the face of some challenges, these ministries have proven extremely useful, especially finance, Ministry of Health, and others. Let me indicate to you that the Civil Service Week is still on. It's getting better. You realize that this year we have pushed the policy fare a notch higher than what we had last year. Yesterday, even those who originally had not indicated any interest were rushing on us for space, and we had to put in some emergency relief packages to contain them in the space that was available to us. So we are grateful. From here, the head of service will officially open. So thank you very much, and they have their representatives here from finance to agri to communications, digitalization. They are all in here. And, Ghana card is oversubscribed. Minister of Health, they are oversubscribed. People are coming from all over, to access the services. Passport office, is here, right here, and so on. So it's an opportunity for us to showcase some of our best products as civil servants. And then the critical role that we play as far as the development of the state is concerned. Tomorrow there will be food bazaar and food cooking competition, and this all-men affair. I was going through my ministry, to see who could really represent us, apart from those who can just boil water and But at least I managed to get some too. I'm hoping that they perform. It's only hope. I'm living under hope, that they perform. But it's going to be a very important contest, actually managed by the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. That is what it is that they are doing for us. And then, of course, Ministry of Youth and Sports, and then, of course, Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. The two institutions have qualified for the men's soccer, finals, the tournament. So they will sort it out on Thursday. Thursday, maybe afternoon, I'm here to get a time. The kickoff, we'll all be there cheering them. And I'm hoping that the Blaster coach should be able to pick one or two to join our team for the World Cup Qatar 2022. I'm hoping that with our policy of every Ghanaian living everywhere coming on board, we should be able to make an impact. That is what it is for us. And of course, on Friday will be the climax. The climax will be when we are going to award you, civil servants, and other individuals who are not necessarily civil servants, but who have contributed in diverse ways, phenomenally, towards the development of the civil service. For last week, the head of service had the unique opportunity of presenting one to the national chief imam in his house, in his residence, for the role that he has played in putting this unit we call Ghana together, promoting peace. Very important.
So this is what we have. So the climax will be actually the guest of honor will be His Excellency the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, and he has been championing this digitalization agenda. So we couldn't have selected, a better person to actually grace that occasion. And more than 100 civil servants will be awarded to serve two main purposes. One, to reinvigorate, to energize them, and also to tell those of us who have not won that indeed there's something can come from Jerusalem if only you are able to deliver. Once the head of service is here, it's inspired you. So this is what we have for the rest of the week, and we encourage all of you to effectively participate to make it a success. Thank you very much. On that note, I have your permission to invite the head of service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman One. But you cannot continue talking plenty like that without fulfilling all righteousness. He and the team have been very impressive. Just have a short assignment here. We're going to formally open the fair, the policy fair. I'm happy that the minister made the point that she's going to get her team to be here. I think it will be useful. We have today, tomorrow, and Thursday. And so that, just come and explain to the public. People come and they want information. And I'll be really expecting that we see them here. That's something. A quick comment. We do not necessarily have, and that's for Dr. Dake, we do not have an aging civil service. Indeed, up to 49, it's about 79% of the service. So to that extent, we're trying to do well to bring in people who are more IT inclined, and that also help us very much. You kept on saying bureaucracy, and everybody knows me. I'm a bureaucrat, and I'm a proud one as that. I'm very proud to be a bureaucrat, and I'll not give that for anything. See, the problem is we don't really understand the issue. It has nothing to do, a lot of the challenges that we face has nothing to do with the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is simply a system. I don't think so. It's an attitude, which is not just civil service, it's a public service, and it's a private sector also. So I think the more we hate bureaucracy, the less successful we will be. I think the better approach is to look at the attitude. And once the attitude changes, the Catholic Church, it's a bureaucracy. The army is a bureaucracy. Police service is a bureaucracy. So there's nothing wrong with bureaucracy per se. It is our attitude. I'm inclined to agree with you where you call red tapeism, where the process, but once you use digital systems, then that process goes off. Then we are left with a major challenge of attitudes. And that's where you and I and everybody must get on board. That was why when, for whatever reason, I must apologize, Honorable Deputy Minister, for the mishap. I think the letter that I signed to you rightly said 10 o'clock. But the program really was 9. So I don't know whether it was a slip or it was a strategic realignment. So I must apologize for you coming in, because by the time you came, that would have been the normal time you show up, 9:15, 10, then thinking that the program will start at 10. So I must apologize. I'm saying that because if you had come in late, quote properly, I would have said the same thing. I would have made you apologize to all of us here. So I only think it's fair that I apologize for the sins of the children and the father. So basically that. On that note, we want to thank everybody who's been here. It's been great so far, and I wish that you will continue. All my chief director friends, the Civil Service Council members, they've been wonderful, always present. And I think you need to give them you go to some organizations and the governing board, as the board is at the throat of the CEO, and they don't see each other, and my last thing is Dr. Dake and Dr. Dakwa. I mean, this guy here has been my chief director for a long time, always. I mean, he was one of the best chief directors we've had in this country. I've really known, and I'm happy that he's still very much alive and working, and as usual, are very humble. If he tells you his story, some of the vicissitudes of working in different departments or ministries, organizations, and how that impacted on his life and even his career, somebody would have given up entirely. But he's a strong man, and he's here, and I'm happy to see you, sir. God bless you. So we will go out there, maybe myself, chairman of members of the council, and our speakers. They say we have to go there and cut something, and then, so ineffectively, what I'm saying is we started a program yesterday, but today we are formally declaring the police survey, lunch, open, whatever the language is. God bless us. So participate and enjoy the service. Closing prayer, Alaji Jennifer. Okay.
Please, shall we invite Jennifer Boating? No, let's give it up to for the head of civil service, providing strategic leadership. Oh, you are the Jennifer. Okay.
Respectively, I'll ask that we be on our feet as we end today's program. Father, we are grateful unto you for this beautiful occasion. We thank you as you continue to use us to serve our citizenry. Thank you for all the ideas that have been shared. We continue to count on your grace to help us, oh God, to be able to serve our people and serve them well. We thank you for the days ahead and all the programs that your grace will see us through successfully. In Jesus' name, amen. You are blessed.
So we're grateful. Thank you very much for coming. We go back to enjoy the policy fair and prepare ourselves for the rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Vasco da Gama de Selama.
Yeah, hello.
Vasco da Gama de Selama. 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 He sailed from Europe, trying to go around the world, searching for pepper and searching for ivory. And she ran out of water in Cape of Good Hope. Vasco da Gama de Selama. 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 He's still from Europe, trying to go around the world.
First exhibition yesterday. It's starting from Monday to Thursday. We have almost all the ministries here and some departments exhibiting their policies, projects, activities, and programs. We want to officially open it, take you around, see what we have as the civil service of Ghana, the departments under us, the ministries under us, and what we set out to do. So you're welcome.
So we will cut this thing. Everybody can join. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Agbena.
Thank you very much. So we'll go around.
Head of Service, Honorable Deputy Minister, dignitaries. This is the Majesty stand, the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation stand, and we are so pleased to have you here visiting us. This is one of our institutions known as the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, and they are here with a lot of scientists, and they are being led by the PR person, Mr. Raymond Bassi, Dr. Naomi Asabri Frimpong, Mr. Daniel Ni Ajay, Mr. Selom Ofori, Mr. Jonathan Okan. Sorry, Dr. Selom Ofori. I'd like to hand over to Dr. Selom to take us through, after which we go to the next phase where Dr. Naomi Asabri Frimpong will take us through. Thank you so much. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, welcome to Ghana Atomic Energy. Over here, we are into pest management. Yeah, there are a lot of pests, but we decided to focus on a new and emerging pest in Ghana. Actually, yeah, mosquitoes are here. Mosquitoes are here. Fall armyworm is here, and then this one is not a pest. It's a beneficial insect. But I'll talk briefly about the fall armyworm. Already, we know our crops are faced with fall armyworm challenges, and at our place, we are trying to develop new tools that we can use in reducing their population on the field. So as we are talking right now, we are doing a lot of research at our place to develop certain biomedical, bioefficient methods in order to reduce the population, and then roll out this to the farmers so that they can also use in their field in reducing the pest population. For the mosquito, we already know what mosquito give us, so we are also developing other alternative measures that we can use in our houses, sleeping in mosquito nets, and all that is very, very important. What is this one? Okay. This is Blasoja Fly. This is Blasoja Fly. It's a very, very important beneficial insect. Yeah, in our refuse dump, sometimes we see this fly hovering around. So the adults lay eggs, and then the eggs hatch into larvae. So the larvae is very, very important. That does the breakdown of organic waste. So in our environment, I'm sure there are a lot of dump sites that we have. So our message out is we want to make use of those organic waste by the action of the larvae to be able to break the organic waste into organic compost. And then apart from that, the larvae can be used to feed animals. Right now, there's serious challenge with soya bean and protein for fish farmers and then those who are into poultry. So we are trying to send our message that this can be used as an alternative. You can combine this and then reduce the cost of protein needs for our poultry and then fish. So this can be used. You can remove it and then give it to your poultry. They'll pick it, they'll grow well, and then they will gain weight very well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ni. Can we move to Dr. Abna to continue with us? Thank you so much, Doc.
Hello and welcome. So I'm from the Ghana Space Science Technology Institute at GAEC. So we have three wings. We have the astronomy and astrophysics. Okay, and yeah, this one. Okay, and we have an observatory, the Ghana Radio Astronomy Observatory at Kuntunsi. We converted the redundant satellite communication antenna into an observatory. We also have the Remote Sensing and Climate Center, which is doing a lot of work with mining, depletion of our resources due to mining activities, crop yield monitoring, disaster monitoring, and we also do a lot of outreach with children. We have small telescopes we take around to inspire young people, young girls to go into STEM because it's so important. Currently, we have 2 women astronomers, and we really want to have more. We really want to have more and more women in science. So we are really doing a lot. We also have Daniel here.
Briefly, 1 minute, Doc.
Okay, so I'm from Radiation Protection Institute, and we provide technical services in the monitoring of radiation levels and helping measure the amounts of radiation that occupationally exposed workers, that is people who work with radioactive substances or radiation emitting devices, to be able to check that the levels of radiation that they receive are within prescribed limits and that they are working with appropriate protocols as per the regulations that have been prescribed. Yes, please, we are. So,
thank you so much, Head of Service, Madam Deputy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So who is doing it? Summarize everything, I beg.
Hi, my friend, how are you?
I'm fine. Good. Yes. So you are welcome to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Here is the agribusiness unit under the policy planning. We have the Directorate of Crops. We have Women in Agri Development, Veterinary Service at the other side. And then we also have the PPRS, the Plant Protection and Regulatory Service Directorate. Basically, they are responsible for looking through the great value chain to develop business ideas for the young entrepreneurs who want to get into agriculture. The crops here, yes, please, local brown rice. So. No. Okay.
So I think let's go to this side too.
Charles.
You are done with agri.
You want to go to employment? Yeah. Food and agri is here. Employment. Okay. Employment. Who is talking? Hey.
Department of Community Development.
Okay, so have it.
Hello. So you're welcome. This is Department of Community Development under the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. These are some of the artifacts of the students in our vocational and technical institutes. And we also sometimes engage in community-based training for elderly people who don't want to come into the schools. And then we give them skills such as these.
Last year I was asking that you are only women. This year, still only women.
That's because basically the one that the men do, we can't bring that, the electricals, the auto mechanic, the plumbing, the masonry, we can't. Yes, please.
I hear you.
Oh, they do. These are for men. This is a shirts and shorts. Yeah. Yeah.
I hear you. Let's go to
Okay.
the passport onward.
Are you the one talking? Yes.
Welcome to the Ministry of the Interior, sir. Welcome to the Ministry of the Interior, sir. At the Ministry of the Interior, we offer a lot of services. A lot of services: work permits, immigration quota, and then exportation and import of dead body, etc. and etc. Okay. Yes. So at the moment, you can see some pictures of some of the services we provided and the commission and the passing out of police service, Ghana Immigration Service, Ghana Fire Service. We also have our client service charter and then immigration policy. So these are the things we also provide the ministry. Yes.
Sir, the last page, agree. Food and agree. I don't put it as the other side. Gerald. You did. Mami Ago. Tina. Pakistan.
Yes. Yes.
Communication
last, but on microphone.
Please come. Our visions and mandates.
You have been together as a community development.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we are the ministry. So it's together. Okay.
So on the stretch behind us, they are part of us on the stretch behind us, and then we have our political leadership, technocrats and political leadership, and we have our mandates, visions and mission, our core functions, our core values, and then we have the projects, interventions that we undertake with the activities. Yeah.
What's the information on registration, property registration?
Property registration, we don't have any here currently. So we
I've seen DCAT. Where is Mark?
Mark is over there.
So talk about it. Okay. What is that? Okay, so talk about food safety.
Okay, so as part of the implementation of the MAC program, the Modernizing Agriculture in Ghana program. Okay, so the ministry came up with the food safety guidelines, guide the MMPs in enforcing food safety bylaws. Of things are happening. We are growing more crops, but how wholesome is it? We go to the hospitals, there are a lot of sicknesses which are foodborne. So we are trying to create awareness for people to know, to be careful about what they eat. So we are looking at from farm to fork. So when you look at the guidelines, it has from planting to the table, trying to educate people on the need for wholesome food. not just anything. You just don't take anything. It also helps to promote local economic development because some of the foodstuffs are exported. So we are trying to make sure that it meets the standards. Whatever we produce here meets the standards, so we can earn some foreign exchange. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, association is right there. Yes, we have some edifit we want to show. So, over here we have the Civil and Local Government Staff Association stand. Yes. So you can see some of the exhibitions that we have here, some of the pictures. I am part of this. Some of this is the third Quao Excellence Awards. So you can see some of the pictures over here. We also have the Pimpamse. I would like to show you Pimpamse new expansion. So the hotel that we have in Cape Coast, a 3-star hotel in Cape Coast called the Pimpamse Hotel. It's for CLOGSAGWE. Now we did some expansion. It's almost about 87 to 100 rooms. So these are some of the expansion. In recent times, we'll be able to do an AstroTurf. And we also have a big conference facility. So, Madam, anytime you visit Cape Coast, you're always welcome to our hotel, North Ridge, opposite Kwaboche, or just adjacent to the other Ridge Royal Hotel. But Pimpamse is now the most or beautiful hotel that you find in Cape Coast. Yes, Madam, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we go to OAS at the other end. Yes. So good man. Please, we have. No. Say, let's go here. Go come there. Say, we'll come, please. We'll come back. You'll come. You'll be more relaxed. Where? Oh, we'll control that. Speaking on your behalf. No, but Chief Young Director. Now you can see